Do you like pop culture?
I do.
I wasn't talking to you, Andrew.
Aw.
If you enjoy movies, television, all that kind of stuff, we have a lot of fun on Sif Pop Podcast, part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. So you can come check us out every week. You can listen live or just download it to your podcast feed.
Every single week, Aaron breaks down the newest movies that are big in theaters, and I make funny noises. You could probably pick one of those that you would like. You can join us every weekend live by looking at Spreaker.com/StudioDNA, or you can find us in your podcast player of preference by searching for Sift Pop.
Can I rap for you before we leave?
Why not?
Can you just give me a... Yo, what's happening, dude? I'm the guy with the rep for being rude, terrorizing people wherever I go. It's not intentional, just keeping the flow. Fixing test scores to get the best scores, dropping banana peels all over the floor. I'm the kid that made delinquency in art. Last name Simpson, first name
Bart.
Bart.
Is that the Bartman?
That's Bartman. Do the Bartman, just like Michael Jackson. That's what one of the lyrics is.
Oh, I love it.
There you go.
So good.
You can lead the show off with that. Take this audio, clip it out, start us up.
Sounds good.
Anyway,
I'll do it.
Beautiful.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 15 of Disney Plus Reviews. I'm one of your co-hosts, Phil Sousa, and I'm here with my co-host, my good friend, and a citizen of one of the many Springfields in the United States. It's Jack Altermat.
Well put. I am here, and I am hoping that Moe's doesn't get shut down or doesn't get everything stolen like in the movie.
That was a great scene.
The whole thing is good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching it again. I hadn't seen it since I saw it. I saw it at the drive-in in Aurora.
In 2007.
Yeah. So, it's good.
So this movie came out, I guess I should say what movie we're talking about, unless you already saw it in the title of the episode. But
I hope they saw the title.
This week we are talking about the Simpsons movie. If you're just joining us for this podcast, this is your first ever episode. We are an unofficial Disney Plus podcast. We're reviewing the most popular stuff on Disney Plus, and sometimes just the stuff that we really like. We did the entire first season of The Mandalorian, and starting in a couple weeks, we're going to do the final season of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, which I'm really excited about. We've got 2 more weeks until that episode airs when we start reviewing the Clone Wars. But in the meantime, we're just kind of hitting some movies and stuff that either A, we haven't seen in a while, or stuff that we really liked, wouldn't mind seeing again. And we've also talked about some stuff that we're seeing for the first time. So this week we were talking about the Simpsons Movie. 2007 is when this movie came out. Jack, you had seen this in theaters, like you said, in the drive-in theater. I had never seen it until this week. Okay. That was my first time ever watching it. Before I talk about my exposure, my past with The Simpsons, what is your how many seasons have you watched? I'm not going to ask you how many episodes you watched.
I know for a fact that I've watched at least 15 seasons of The Simpsons.
Okay, that's.
But there's so many. I mean, how many are there total? I remember there was a point where I shut off and I was like, okay, I've seen enough. And I just stopped watching TV for a while there, and then The Simpsons continued on.
They're currently in their 31st
Yeah, I mean,
season.
they've been at it for a long time.
Yeah.
I own season like 4 and 5 on DVD.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on my shelf and on shelf and
That's
at
a long
home
time
next to my Chappelle show, and actually one season of South Park, which is really weird.
Okay. That is
before the internet, before streaming,
yeah,
you just would buy things, and so I bought some seasons. It was fun.
Do you think about that? Think about how TV series sales have gone down precipitously since Netflix, really.
Well, because you had what word? I can't even think of this word. Syndication. How can I not remember that? They had syndication, and that's where like Seinfeld made billions of dollars off of syndication.
Uh-huh.
Simpsons equally made buku bucks off of syndication, and then you had this nice tight window of about 8, 9, 10 years probably, where people were selling DVDs like seasons of shows.
Yeah.
Shows like Firefly, shows like Angel shows like Buffy, like all those niche shows that people like super fans would buy those seasons, and The Simpsons were the same, where people would buy large, like those a bunch of those seasons just so they could watch them.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have streaming ability, and you didn't want to wait for syndication and wait for it on a network. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. The wild thing is I went into Best Buy a few months ago. I go into Best Buy like 4 times a year now.
Right.
I used to go into those kinds of stores all the time. On their shelves, if you go into they still sell DVDs and Blu-rays, probably mostly Blu-rays now, and they still sell TV series. So they would not be stocking those shelves if people weren't actually buying them occasionally.
And it's got to be for the commentary stuff, because that is kind of cool about owning a DVD, and it's the commentary end of it, and maybe the deleted stuff and things that are extras.
I guess if you're a super fan and you want to it's like a collector's mentality of like, oh, I have to collect, I got to collect them all type of thing.
Got to catch them all.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Pokemon. I definitely get that way with comic books. Like, sure, I could just read all these comics digitally, but there are certain comic books that's like, no, I want to have a physical copy of it. Even in the year 2020, I want to have a physical copy of this comic book. So I kind of get that, but it's amazing to me that like you could just literally watch every season. I'm assuming all the seasons are on Disney Plus except maybe the current one of The Simpsons. So you literally have no reason, if you're just going to subscribe to services like Disney Plus for the rest of your life, which I think probably a lot of Americans probably are. Probably. Then there's literally no reason to own a copy of it. So, but they're still selling them, which is interesting. Cool. My background, so I grew up in, I think, a little bit more of a restrictive home. I don't want to say like strict. There were certain things that we were allowed to watch and certain things that we weren't allowed to watch. The Simpsons was definitely on the no list. Mm-hmm. And then when I got to college, I had one roommate that actually liked it a lot, and I watched a few episodes here and there, just mostly when he was watching it. And then post-college, I had a roommate that would occasionally watch them. But again, mostly I didn't like seek them out. It was just kind of like whenever he was watching them, I might sit down and watch an episode. Mm-hmm. Cumulatively, over my entire life, I've probably only seen maybe 40 episodes of The Simpsons. Probably not more than that. I have watched all of season 1, which I think was a short season, if I remember correctly. I'll have to look it up. And then I watched like the first half of season 2. Like at one point, I was like, oh, I'm going to binge through maybe not all the seasons, but at least half. Get to the point where I'm familiar with the characters. And I jumped off of that pretty quickly. Now I've gone back and heard that like the first couple seasons of The Simpsons are not the seasons to watch.
Well, they're hard to watch. So they're hard to watch if you go back and watch them. The animation. This is The Simpsons started as a short on the Tracy Ullman show, which was on Fox at the time. Which Tracy Ullman, if you don't know who that is, was a stand-up comedian back in the 80s and into the early 90s, and then they were an animated short on Tracy Ullman. So it's kind of weird that they not only got their own show, but then became so much bigger than the thing that they started on. So anyway.
So yeah, I just looked it up. The first season is only 13 episodes, and then like I said, I think I cut out about maybe halfway through season 2. So I think I've only seen about 24 episodes kind of in succession, and then I've just seen like little ones here and there, and much the same way where like like people that have never watched Seinfeld before at least have watched a couple episodes.
But you just see them like you're at someone's house and they're on, and here we go. So.
They know like the soup episode or certain episodes of Seinfeld. But so I'm the opposite with Seinfeld. I've seen every episode many times over. I haven't watched it quite as much as you. I think I've seen it all the seasons 3 times a piece.
I was really a big Simpsons fan. Like honestly, whenever it first came out, I think my parents were a little apprehensive about me watching it, but we also watched Married with Children at home. Like we watched we all watched it together. My parents didn't want to watch this because anything animated, they were like, this is kid stuff. But it also they also knew that it had adult themes in it, so that was kind of what made it weird. And they're of a generation that is weird to them. And then
it's interesting you mentioned that. I the main reason I kind of wanted to watch The Simpsons when I was a kid was because it was a cartoon, like it was an animated property, and I think a lot of it was all my friends were watching it too. I was 10 when the first season came out, so my parents thought I was too young to be watching it, but kids my age were watching it, and so I heard a lot about Bart, especially as well as the other main characters. A lot, mostly from my friends. They would just tell me what happened on last night's episode or whatever. So
crazy.
Yeah.
Viewership. I'm just going to go over this in the millions. The first season of The Simpsons. The average viewership. for the entire season of season 1. 27.8 million
Oh
people.
my goodness. That was a different time back then.
That was a different time
but
when there was nothing else on. Now, it dipped at one point in season 11 to 8.8, but it has been steady. It was steady double digits all the way till season 16. Basically that whole run. And then it's dipped. I mean, now it's down to the threes, like the threes area is where it's at now. But again, I've talked about that aggregate before, like the Nielsen ratings that's based on. You're like, what's it really matter as far as like, because there's so much streaming content and they're basically just, this is how they tailor it to advertisers. So.
Yeah, I do wonder how many more millions are watching it, like on Hulu or the Fox. I think there's a Fox streaming app. Like they're watching it after the fact, after it actually airs live on television, on live television. Dude, 27 million. That's
pretty
insane.
crazy. And the highest watched single episode is an episode from season 2, and it is called Bart Gets an F, and 33.6 million people watched it. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
That's not quite as many as the Super Bowl, but it's darn close. So anyway, there's some stats.
I mean,
and by the way, this is now not 20th Century Fox anymore.
No,
it's just 20th Century. It's just what it's called. Like they've dropped the Fox out of it. It's just called 20th Century.
Huh.
So Fox is gone. It's just 20th Century. So there it is.
My guess is that you would call this a sitcom, right? Is it
best you could call it is a sitcom? I mean, I think it's an animated sitcom. I guess it's the same premise as a sitcom or how sitcoms work. It's a bigger world because in a sitcom you're stuck on about 4 sets, and in this animated thing it's like whatever. It's open world, so they can go wherever they want, and as long as wherever they can animate, they can go. So
yeah,
pretty cool.
I mean, it's got to be the largest number of episodes for any one sitcom, I would think. I just kind of looked it up real quick. The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet.
Gosh, that's going back a long time, pal.
It had 14 seasons, but I guess they were doing a lot of episodes. Like, was it like a year round?
I think they would do that where they would.
Was it 52,
they want content?
52 episodes a season, maybe.
Possibly.
They had 425 episodes. The Simpsons.
Can you imagine?
The Simpsons just hit. They hit 425 this season. No, I'm sorry, last season. No, wait a second. They hit that by season 20.
Yeah, they're almost they're closing in on 700.
Yeah,
now.
Season 20 they had already passed that. So my guess is most people would consider this a sitcom, and if that's true, then it's definitely by far the longest running sitcom of all time. So definitely a huge property. It's one that I wish I knew more about. And yet, let me say this before we get into talking
about it because everyone knows a lot about The Simpsons.
Yeah, and that's I was surprised. I went into watching this movie again, having that kind of limited knowledge of The Simpsons and their characters. And even going into the movie, I already knew most of the characters' names going into the movie. It's kind of weird. And I even knew some of their personalities. So I was like, okay, well, Mo is going to be like this, and Burns is going to, is it Burns?
Mr. Burns.
Burns.
Monty Burns.
Monty Burns is going to be like that. He's going to be the bad guy or whatever that everyone hates. So, like, even though I can't say that I really know The Simpsons very well, they're so part of American culture in particular, and maybe other international cultures too, but American culture that I think even if you've never watched the show, you still know a little bit about these guys. So really interesting. Movie came out in 2007. It is available on Disney Plus because of this strange new world that we live in, where Disney owns all things Fox. Along with X-Men and everything else that comes along
and
with
probably
that.
all of your personal data. While I'm talking about that, LifeLock. It's a great thing for you. I'm just joking.
They own Avatar. They own everything. They're beginning to kind of collect it all, so to speak.
Catch it all.
$75 million budget when it first released. $500 million just
awesome.
Just in the box office.
And it's just some movie that they, Conan O'Brien. I mean, was a writer on The Simpsons. And he and Matt Groening and am I saying that right? Groening.
I don't know.
Matt Groening is the creator of The Simpsons.
Okay.
They're friendly, so that helps. And you can tell the episodes that Conan early on, the ones you're watching, when you're like, that's a very Conan thing for this character to do. So.
Directed by David Silverman, who actually has directed a lot of The Simpsons episodes. So they just grabbed, I guess, maybe one of their favorite directors, I guess, of the Simpsons episodes and asked them to do this movie, produced by those guys that did The Simpsons, and starring, as you would expect, all of the same characters, all the same actors from the TV show. A few, as far as I know, a few people that maybe have never been in the show before that made it into this movie. But to be honest, it's not, unless you're familiar with the show and have watched a lot of the seasons of the show, there's not going to be any like surprise guest stars that you wouldn't expect to see in this. Like it's going to be for the most part Simpsons characters.
It does open with Green Day though.
Yeah,
so Green Day is the opener.
That's true. Yeah,
which is interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, let's just get into I guess before we get into a recap, like what were some of your surprises, things like maybe scenes or lines that you'd forgotten about? What were some scenes or lines that kind of felt like home, like just coming back to again?
I do this with any show a TV show that becomes a movie. They're like, we need to do a movie for this.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of go, why do they do that? And with this one,
yeah.
I did that, and even when I saw it in the theater, I was like, I kind of want to see this because I like The Simpsons a lot. And but I also was like, why are they doing this? And then you watch it and you're like, okay, that makes sense because they can make a movie out of it. We can get. Why would you do it? Money. That's why.
So there's a line that Homer.
Disney is currently doing this with all their live action, where you go. I mean, we all kind of love the original animated Lion King. Why would you make a new one? Well, money and money.
Yeah,
because we can.
We're gonna make $500 million.
Because if we don't make this, we'll make a Sweet Life of Zack and Cody remake.
The thing with that is that even if they just made up a brand new thing, that brand new thing probably would make less money. So
yeah, I mean this is a known commodity, and now Disney. I mean, allegedly there's going to be a sequel at some point.
Yeah,
and I'm sure Disney will greenlight that and make a big buck. So.
Yeah, I want to talk some more about that towards the end.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the movie, Homer basically tells you exactly what everyone is thinking and what Jack just said. I wrote down the line because I thought it was funny. He says, "They're at the beginning of the movie. They're actually in a movie theater. Like the Simpsons characters are in a movie.
Yeah.
And like in a theater watching their own movie. So it's a movie within a movie. And they Homer at one point stands up and he says, "I can't believe we're paying to see something we can watch on TV for free. They're watching a Itchy and Scratchy
Itchy and Scratchy movie. Yes.
Yeah." And so he says, I can't believe we're paying to see something we can just watch on TV for free. Everyone in this theater is a big sucker. And then he points directly at the screen, like to the people watching the movie, especially you. And then it's The Simpsons. And goes into like the beginning crawl. So very, very interesting that... yeah, and I feel like that's expected. Like that kind of humor is what you expect when you go see anything Simpsons. That it's going to be satirical, it's going to be on the nose, it's going to be everyone's thinking this, so let's just say it. That kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah. Dude,
we're not thinking about Harry Plopper.
No,
or Spider.
Nobody was thinking about that.
No. Anyway.
Green Day plays a concert at the beginning of this, and it's actually them. It's actually their recording of the Simpsons theme, right?
I feel like
it sounds like them.
I feel like the album American, and that was definitely them.
Yeah.
The album American Idiot came out around this time.
Yeah, it definitely did.
And they basically it's this huge marketed tie-in.
Oh yeah.
And you kind of go, well, all right, whatever.
This is why they did it.
That's fine. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So which is really funny to think about when I think about Green Day. Actually, I say American Idiot was 2004.
Well, so American Idiot is actually played on the organ during the church service. So,
but Green Day, I mean, they started out as a punk band, way punk. We're not good. We're hard. We're not straight edge, but we're so hardcore, and we're not about money, and blah blah blah. And then it's 20 years later,
yeah,
we're opening this movie, basically plugging our own, our product, basically. So I think it's kind of funny.
They're playing on a barge, like this little floating platform, basically in the lake, inside Lake Springfield, and the barge literally gets eaten up by pollution. Like the pollution just munches on the thing and it goes down.
Yeah.
And everyone's throwing tomatoes.
Which is the running gag in Springfield. You have a nuclear power plant.
Yeah.
That's always polluted Lake Springfield. From a very early part of the show, early on in the show.
Yeah.
There's the three-eyed fish.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
Their minor league team is called the Isotopes. Yeah.
Okay.
Springfield Isotopes is their minor league team.
Okay.
There's this whole non-caring about environment feel that Springfield does. They dump stuff, and Homer's kind of the king of that.
Everyone dumps it. Yeah.
Everyone does. So.
Yeah, and they basically took that and ran with it for this movie. Like I didn't know that. Like I literally didn't watch a trailer or anything going into this. I'm sure I did back in 2007, but I don't remember those trailers.
Spider Pig was the big running joke.
I remember
of that.
Spider Pig
and Harry Plopper.
See, I didn't know anything. Harry Plopper came out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with that reference at all.
It was from that trailer because they really pushed on that trailer, and then he basically dressed him up for Harry Potter, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I remembered Spider Pig, and again, my roommates in college and post college used to just sing that song all the time. There were some references that I knew about going into this movie. For the most part, most of it was a surprise, and I had no idea what the plot was. I didn't know, like, it was basically kind of like a play on anti-pollution. I don't think anything is ever meant to be taken seriously.
No, and that was one thing. There at no point were they like, because this is wrong and we shouldn't do it.
Yeah, like this isn't a Save the Planet movie.
No,
there are movies that are like that, but this is not one of them. So, and then one of the key scenes in the movie, it almost immediately goes into a church. It's Sunday morning church scene, and the organist is playing American Idiot on the organ, and Grandpa gets up in church and delivers this doomsday prophecy.
It's like a seizure thing. Almost.
Yeah, he's like writhing on the ground and
it's almost like a vision,
spinning around in circles. Yeah, and he's basically, he doesn't really know what he's saying at the time. He doesn't even remember saying it, and it's kind of like a foreshadow of like what's to come in the movie. So he's talking about many eyes and all these different things, and EPA, which we learn out later is the EPA.
Yeah, exactly.
But he just kind of forecasts like what's going to happen in the movie. Let's see. Then more pollution stuff. Lisa's going door to door, warning people about pollution. She meets Colin, and I was going to ask you about Colin. I'm assuming he's a new character. He's never been in the show.
I've never seen Colin before.
Okay.
He's just like the boy love interest for Lisa.
So it's really weird. His character, I don't really understand in this movie. Like I
think they're trying to make him dreamy, trying to make him a cool guy for her.
I get the premise and the setup for him. He's introduced. You see him in like 2 or 3 scenes. And then you literally don't see him again until the end of the movie.
Right.
That was a little weird to me. Like, I was like, oh, this is a big new character. Maybe he'll make it into the show at some point. No. I was like, man, they did not. Like, they wrote him into the movie and then just immediately took him out.
Right.
It's kind of weird. But, he's like this Irish dreamboat for Lisa.
Irish dreamboat.
He, believes in all the same things as she does as far as saving the planet and global warming and all that kind of stuff. Then Bart skateboards naked on a dare from his father, from Homer, and they do the Austin Powers thing. So if you've seen the Austin Powers movies, like you kind of know what I'm talking about. But Bart initially says, "There's no way I'm doing that because, quote, they might see my doodle." And then they do like all these different cuts, like all these different scenes where he's skateboarding and it's an action shot, but there's always something in front of it, the bottom of his body, like around the belt area. And but then at the very end of that sequence, it's probably like a 1.5-minute sequence. Towards the end of that 1.5 minutes, you actually do see it. his doodle for like 2 seconds. It's really funny.
So weird.
I was surprised that they did that, and B, got away with it. Like, I'm pretty sure the movie is PG.
It is PG, and I don't know.
It's animated.
Yeah, but even then,
and it's a child. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's weird. Like, that definitely weird.
But I feel like in the same way, like South Park can kind of get away with some of that stuff.
That's basically what they're. But even South Park's movies had a PG-13 rating. I know for a fact. They may have been higher than that.
It was so strange to me. I was like, okay, I get it. The shtick of this sequence is Austin Powers, basically, right. And Austin Powers did it years before this movie, but then they just end up showing it, which obviously they never did in Austin Powers. So it's really interesting. Homer, and then another big scene, Homer goes to a restaurant. They're shooting a commercial. Krusty, who's not in the movie very much, Krusty the Clown is shooting a commercial for his restaurant.
Yeah, Krusty Burger.
The Krusty Burger, yeah. And has a pig in the shot, which I think is hilarious. And he's talking about some bacon thing or whatever. There's a live pig in the restaurant where they're shooting the commercial, and he says, "Okay, kill the pig." Like they're done shooting. He's like, "Okay, take the pig out back and shoot it." And Homer's like, "No, I want it. Like I'm going to take that pig." And then he ends up, and part of the prophecy was twisted tail. Like what grandpa is like twisted tail, many eyes, Eppa. And so like Homer brings the pig back home, and of course Marge is like, twisted tail, no, the prophecy is coming true when she sees the pigtail. Homer starts, loving and spending more time with the pig within Bart. Flanders moves in on Bart, which I thought that was a really interesting thing.
Interesting. Well,
have they really done that? In
yeah,
the
there have
TV
been
show?
times when Ned is the perfect dad, so they were, Bart doesn't feel like he has a father sometimes because Homer's so dumb. So
such a deadbeat.
But Homer's not a deadbeat. Homer's this weird character. It's just like
he's just dumb.
Yeah, he means well. He has a good heart.
Yeah.
He's just not good.
And I feel like he's more selfish. Flanders is obviously pretty selfless, but I really liked the scene where they go fishing. So like Flanders is like, hey, like I'll take you fishing. It's like, wow, I've never done that before. And so like Flanders and him go out in the boat, and at one point he makes a mistake. I think he ends up pulling too fast on the rod or something like that, and he immediately starts making the choking face that is so iconic for Bart.
Yes.
But then he realized no one's actually choking him. So I liked that part, but it was interesting to see that dynamic. But Jack, do you know the words to Spider Pig?
Spider Pig does whatever a spider pig does. I don't know the rest of it.
Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig.
I
think it's the rest.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey there, here comes the spider pig.
Music has been a big key to all things Simpsons for a long time. Like,
yeah?
They always have a musical guest on. There's always, what I'm saying? There's always someone.
Yeah, like I saw.
They have
like
an
Sting
album. Have you ever heard this album? Simpsons Sing the Blues.
No.
A legitimate
There's
album.
a whole album.
There's a song on there called "Do the Bartman." There's a music video to it. I remember being in high school, and
even I've heard of the Bartman. I don't think I could sing any of it.
But I'm just saying, like, they, music is a big deal. Actually, I say that they came out in 1990, so I would have been in like elementary, junior high. We would have been in junior high. But on that album, there's just like a ton of songs. So like, when I think about Spider Pig and like the songs, and just there's always something. Musical is a big deal, like for the Simpsons.
Yeah,
it's a key for them. And anyway, Do the Bartman. I'm going to recommend that people go online and listen to Do the Bartman. It's pretty stupid, but I remember it playing on radio stations, like at the around the places that I was from. So like, and it's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, they had an album, and I bet it sold a lot of copies too. By the way, BT Dubs. So go ahead.
The next joke that I wrote down that happens, and there's a lot of little throwaway scenes that have nothing to do with the overall plot. It's just you understand what you're getting when you get into Simpsons. There's a part where so Lisa starts doing this big meet. There's like the whole town is invited. It's an emergency. We're one piece of trash away from total toxicity in the lake, right?
Of course, of course we are. That sounds eerily similar to things that I hear a lot. But go ahead, continue.
So the mayor issues a code black. It says no more dumping into the lake. Code black. And then one of the guys says, "Oh no, code black. That's the worst color there is. No offense, Carl." And he turns to the black guy that's sitting next to him, and then Carl's response is, "It's all right. I get that all the time." And I like that kind of stuff is. Like that kind of humor, I think, on a Disney service, a Disney Plus service, is very interesting to me. And it's funny. It's not. It's what's the Mel Brooks movie that you always?
Blazing Saddles.
It's Blazing Saddles, right? Where it's like, okay, nobody that writes for The Simpsons is a racist. Probably, I don't know them personally, but they're making this joke because it's a silly joke to make.
Well, and Springfield doesn't have a lot of black folks in it. Like
true. Right.
Doctor, what's his name? The doctor at Dr. Hibbard from the hospital. Well, Bart, blah, 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 blah. That's just
yeah.
He is, and he's very Bill. I'm going to say this. He's very Bill Cosby. But now it's like that's not how he is, but he is. That sort of thing. So
it's not cool to be Cosby anymore.
No, it's no longer cool to be Cosby. To be the cause.
Yeah.
Ghost Dad 2 will not be made.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah. Simpsons 2 probably will be made.
I think so. Did you know in America, the Simpsons Sing the Blues sold 2 million copies? It's 2 times platinum. Think about that.
That's kind of dumb.
Let that wrap around your head. Also, I will say this: they also went gold in New Zealand. You know how many you have to sell to go gold in New Zealand?
So 500?
7,500 copies.
Oh, geez.
Phil, I want to go gold in New Zealand. We've got to make some New Zealand music
All right.
and go gold.
I just put Bart in it.
It's attainable. 7,500 copies?
Yeah,
It's very attainable.
We can hit that.
All right, continue. Sorry.
So the next thing that happens is Homer has a bunch of pig crap, for lack of a better term. That's the way he describes it, that he has to dump. And so, of course, he's going to go to the lake with it. So he takes the whole silo. There's like a huge silo full of pig feces, let's say, and dumps it into the lake. As soon as it does, the lake goes immediately toxic.
And there's a big skull and crossbones at one point that pops up too, which is really funny.
A squirrel runs and finds its way into the lake after
chased.
Oh, that's right.
He's chased by an eagle. He's chased by something.
Yeah, a fox or something. I can't remember. He goes in there and immediately he pops out of the water and he has 15 eyes all over his head. So they basically took the 3-eyed fish and just went crazy with it. There's a Springfield joke in there. We actually are from Springfield.
Yes.
My intro
Yes.
was not just a lie.
Real life.
Jack lives in Springfield, Missouri. I live in Clever, Missouri, south of Springfield. I work in Springfield. There's I think 48 states or
There's a bunch of them.
At least 40 states.
Every one of them, and it's really funny because they're like, here's the, what is that? Who makes that comment?
It's Flanders.
Flanders makes that comment.
Yeah.
Him and Bart go on a hike. And he's standing on top of this ridge and goes, "This is the ridge you can see all 4 states that border Springfield." And he's like, "Idaho,
Ohio, Nevada, Maine, and Kentucky."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that, I think even up to 2007, a lot of people were like, "Oh, I wonder which Springfield in the United States." I remember people legitimately saying, "No, it's definitely Springfield, Missouri, or it's definitely this."
I think he's from Oregon.
Oh, is he?
Springfield, Oregon.
Okay.
So I think that's probably where it is, but I can't remember. He said definitively that maybe it's not a single one. We need to look that up.
They're geniuses when they do that kind of thing related to Springfield, because there's actually an episode that I haven't watched personally, but people have told me where the Simpsons drive for an hour and they're in Branson. And so I've heard some people say "Oh, it's because of this. Look at this episode. It's definitely Springfield, Missouri." But then you watch another episode and they drive an hour and they're in Vegas.
He's from Portland. He's from Portland, Oregon, and there is a Springfield, Oregon, really close to Portland. It's actually by Eugene, but it's all close in there. So
yeah, I imagine they probably just chose Springfield because it
literally
is.
It's such a generic.
It's maybe the most popular name for a town in the United States.
Got to be one of them. So.
So, but yeah, I did kind of dig that joke. We see President Schwarzenegger several times in the movie.
Right.
And he mostly is kind of a pawn, just a guy that signs documents for a living. And the EPA guy, I wrote his name down. I'll have to find it later. Is kind of in charge though. He's the bad guy, so to speak. That's gonna
Russ Cargill.
Oh, right.
So, and he basically runs it. He's a wealthy businessman turned politician, basically. Or I shouldn't say politician, turned government worker because he's in charge of the EPA.
Yeah. It's quickly determined that we basically need to contain this outbreak of toxicness. I don't know what they're trying to contain.
Springfield per capita is the most toxic town in the world. And we have to control it.
Yeah.
I like Russ because he goes, "Now we have 5. I've put together 5 options. Pick any of the options." He picks number 3, and that is what, Phil?
Drop a dome.
Put the dome, which, by the way, there's the Dome is a Stephen King novel.
Oh yeah.
But I think it came out after the Simpsons movie.
When did Biodome come out?
No, earlier. Definitely earlier.
Biodome's a different premise, but the premise of Stephen King's book is basically this story.
Well, let me look at some time.
They cover a city.
Let me figure out when that came out. I don't want to say it's called Under the Dome. It came out in 2009.
Oh, after.
There's a picture of the cover. If you see it.
Wow, it is the Simpsons movie.
It's the Simpsons movie. Now it's an invisible dome, and you just. It just happens. One time, one night they all go to bed and they wake up and they're suddenly cut off from the outside world. So And it's
right.
really long, by the way. I thought about buying it once because it looked interesting, but it's 1,074 pages. And I thought, man, that's a lot of pages.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
No. Maybe book on tape, but
Just watch the Simpsons movie. You know everything you need to know.
right. I mean, it's obviously the same. And they made a show about that as well, a TV show about that as well. But also, you know what else made a show about it? The Simpsons, because they're a movie that came up with that idea that Stephen King ripped off. Good job, Stephen King.
Yeah.
Way to rip it off.
Yeah. Send
proceeds
to Matt
Yeah.
Koenig or whatever his name is.
Groening.
It's quickly revealed that Homer is the one that basically started. I mean, they blame it on Homer. Obviously,
Yes.
they're all at fault, but Homer is the bad guy, the one that they're going to pin this all on. They basically run him out of town. The dome is already dropped onto their town, covering Springfield, so that everyone's trapped inside. But because of a sinkhole that's in their backyard, like in their playground area, Maggie at one point actually falls into the sinkhole. And she's the one to kind of say, hey, this is our way out. So they actually like dive into the sinkhole in their backyard. At that point, it looks like death is coming for all of the Simpsons because they all got pitchforks and fire.
Homer
like,
covered
torches.
up that sinkhole with the sand. He created it, right?
Well, yeah.
How he created it?
In one of the very beginning scenes in the movie that we skipped over, has all these household chores, and one of them is to fix the sinkhole. And he fixes it by plugging the hole with Maggie. Like he just drops Maggie in the sinkhole, and he says, "Okay, I got that checked off my list." So yeah, Maggie knows that there's a sinkhole, there's a way out, and as soon as they pop into that sinkhole, they pop out on the outside of the dome.
Yeah,
so
that's
so
happens that's the case.
It's very convenient. At that point, Homer, which I thought this was actually really clever. Like, and I wish they kind of did more in Alaska, but there's a point where all is lost. They're homeless. They've lost everything. Their whole house burned down. Like they have nothing left. No family, no friends, nothing. And basically the city is under this dome and it's all their fault. And Marge is looking pretty serious at Homer. And Homer's response is, we have to move to Alaska. This is how we continue our lives.
Do you feel like that? Don't you feel like people... Have you ever had that thought like that, Phil?
Oh, I totally
in your
have.
life?
I totally have.
I have to... Mine normally revolves around the beach. I like the idea of
mine was
moving.
literally Alaska.
Mine is probably Wyoming because Alaska is a long way away.
Yeah.
But mine is probably Wyoming
never done
or
it,
Montana or something like that. The beach also comes up. I go, wouldn't it be great just to leave our troubles and move to some little beach town somewhere?
I have a friend that literally did that. Like last year,
we talked about that, didn't we?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it, so I don't know all the ins and outs. But like he literally was just like, we're moving to Florida. And so they moved. Or Gulf Shores, I think it was.
Yeah.
They moved to Gulf Shores.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the beach and I love the ocean. And it would be beautiful to wake up and have a different thing. He moved to some cabin, which was really funny because they left. They had no money. They had no vehicle. He lucked out and was able to, and I'm moving ahead here, but he's able to get a truck to drive there because they didn't have a vehicle either.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the border.
But by the way,
I skipped ahead.
Because
it makes me laugh how this all worked out and how apparently when you move to Alaska, they're literally, and there are some instances where there are certain jobs there where they will really reimburse you to come work in Alaska.
Yeah, the very first scene in Alaska is that they literally hit the state limit, like the state border.
Yeah.
And the first line is, "Welcome to Alaska. Here's $1,000." I just thought that was so funny, and it's kind of true actually.
Yeah.
But the way that he wins the truck is he actually, this will come up at the end of the movie. He wins the truck, like he gets a free truck,
but it's an old cruddy truck.
Yeah, he does this. He has to do a loop to loop. You have to do it one time. It looks like a carnival type.
Yeah.
Hit the mallet on the thing and see if you can hit the.
Yeah, but this is a like one of those steel balls that like a stunt driver, a stunt man.
If you've been to the circus or
show.
Vegas or something like
that metal cage, and then the motorcycle drives around it. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Using centrifugal force is the actual thing that causes it to happen. Centrifugal force.
Science.
Centrifugal force. It is.
No, you're totally right. I've seen it happen live. So, thank you, science.
No, okay. I thought you were telling me.
No, I
I
believe you.
didn't know what I was talking about. Like
it is science.
I am as intelligent as Bill Nye. who's not even really a scientist. But go ahead.
So yeah, that's how he wins this track. Because he has to do even one loop around the sphere. He fails like three or four times in a row, and then his last time he literally just goes around and around forever. He's like an expert in like 5 minutes. So yeah, they get all the way up to there's 2 Disney parodies in this movie. I don't know if you caught these as you were watching them this week.
One one's later when they're on the monorail or whatever it is driving back. Or on the train coming back.
Yes.
There's a Mickey Mouse reference, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's later. The first one is actually when they're at the cabin. They're in Alaska. The kids are outside playing. There's like a clap for Alaska scene, which that was actually one of the funniest scenes for me. I think my favorite Homer moments are the ones where he's being a terrible father, but he has no idea that he is.
Yeah.
And it just because of his own just dumbness. But Homer is like out doing something in the yard, and of course it's snow everywhere, and there's this huge mountain that's right next to their cabin. It's the worst place for a cabin. They Bart on purpose claps, and that starts a kind of a small avalanche.
Mini avalanche.
Yeah. And so then Bart's like, "Hey, Lisa, clap for me." He's like, "No." She's like, I know what you're doing. I'm not going to do that." And Homer like gets onto her. He's like, "You will clap. You will clap for Alaska. Clap for Alaska." And so she starts clapping too, and the two of them that clap, and the whole house goes under this avalanche. But right after that, there's Homer and Marge are having some husband-wife alone time.
Yes, because the kids are trapped outside because there's snow.
It's avalanche.
Around there. Yeah.
So they are going to have some alone time together, but before they do, the birds begin to whistle. The animals start to come in.
Very Disney.
They're speaking
Bambi.
to the animals. The animals get them dressed, dress March in this beautiful,
Nightgown,
negligee,
let's say,
gown, and it's very, very Disney. And I thought that was.
But
I think
the funniest thing
is
is
very serendipitous.
The payoff for all of it,
Yeah.
is then the camera doesn't show obviously Homer and Marge, but it shows the animals' faces
Yeah.
and their look of total shock and horror.
That's the part you don't see when you see.
And it's really
Disney
funny
movie.
because like the animals are like, oh no,
Oh no, that's not right.
oh, and so that was really, really funny. So well done.
Yeah, very well done. So, yeah, let's talk about the second one now, since we're on that topic. So there is another Disney, and by the way, these are scenes that are making fun of Disney, and it's so funny to me now that this is actually a Disney property
because. And they've always kind of done that. Itchy and Scratchy kind of do that a little bit, even though Itchy and Scratchy are kind of more Tom and Jerry than they are anything. But it's also a mouse, so like it's very Disney-esque. The other Disney one is actually, we've got one other thing to cover before we get to this, but Bart is on the train going through people's luggage, finds a black brassiere, puts it over his head, and has the cups as his ears, and says, "Look, I'm a mascot for a corporate...
evil corporation.
An evil corporation." Which is really funny.
It's just so funny to me that you can watch that scene on Disney Plus now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just there.
Throughout this time, every once in a while, you're getting these scenes back to Springfield, and it's day, and it's always Kent Brockman, the newscaster.
Yes.
Welcome, day 58 in Springfield. We are running out of food. We are blah, 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 blah. We are blah, blah, blah. And basically, things are just degenerating into, anarchy, and they're just basically killing them.
Yeah.
Like, over time, they're just going to kill them off, right?
Yeah, it's basically Armageddon inside of the dome. Outside of the dome, everything is just normal government. But there is no government anymore inside of.
Well, and they have erased them off of the GPS map.
Yeah.
They show that later, and then everything is settled in. The Simpsons have now acclimated to living in Alaska in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they have television, which is really funny. And then they're like, this commercial comes on because Russ Cargill went back to Schwarzenegger and says, "Listen, people have escaped from the dome. More people will escape from the dome. We need to come up with another way to take care of this. I've created 5 options." And then Schwarzenegger goes, "Oh, I want to read all of them to make a good decision. There is no time. You'll have to trust me. Okay, I'll pick this one." He picks number 3 again. No, not that one. Okay, he picks number 5. Not that one. Picks number 2. No, he picks number 1. He goes, no, not that one. He picks number 2. He goes, no, add 2 to that. Oh, number 4. And he's like, "Good choice, sir. Great choice you made there." And it's basically to blow up the people inside the dome. to destroy Springfield
Yeah.
forever.
And then there's a commercial that comes on in Alaska that says, come see the
It's
new
Tom
Grand
Hanks,
Canyon.
by the way.
Yeah, it is Tom. It really is Tom.
Oh, look at the Grand Canyon. We love the Grand Canyon. Tom Hanks. And then he's like, hi. And it's really Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
by the way.
I messed up earlier. That he is the big cameo in this
There's
movie.
that.
I forgot
Green
about him.
Day. There's got to be a couple others somewhere in there. But
I think, okay, so the guy that actually plays Cargill, the EPA guy.
who is he?
He is Marlin in the Finding Nemo and Finding Dory movies. And he's done a whole bunch of other voice work too.
Aaron, Brooks. It's
Albert Brooks.
Albert Brooks.
Yeah, so I immediately recognized his voice, but I couldn't place him at
Right.
all. My guess is that probably most people have heard his voice in probably a dozen different
Yeah,
things.
he's been in a lot of stuff.
But yeah, Marlin, in the Finding Nemo movies is probably what a lot of people are going to recognize him from, especially Disney Plus subscribers. But yeah, he's actually kind of an actor. I mean, a lot of people would know him.
There's some random folks that are in here too, which are really good. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
So the NSA here's their conversation on the train as they're going back from they've left Homer. They're saying like we're basically she doesn't in not so many words. Marge is basically divorcing him.
Well,
Like,
and she's
like,
basically
it's
like
over.
she taped over. He refuses to go back and save them. He's like, we're not going to go back. They chased us out of pitchfork. They chased us out of town with pitchforks at 4:00 in the afternoon. And then she goes, it was not 4:00. It was 7:00. And he goes, yes, it was. Access Hollywood was on. She's like, no, it's on at 4:00 and 7:00. Which is really funny.
It was a very 2007.
It's very
thing
2007.
to
So
say. Yeah.
So then they basically she's like, we have to save our friends. Blah blah blah. He won't leave. He comes back from the bar. He goes to the bar, right?
Yeah.
Comes back.
Is there a bar scene?
Yeah, there's a bar. And he goes into this bar. He slides back in. He grabs hold of the back of a trash truck and then slides through the snow up to the front door, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then he's
I
like,
forgot about
Marge, kids, blah, blah, blah. And then he finds their wedding tape from earlier in the movie.
yeah.
And she's taped
That's
over the
that's
first
the one
part.
one thing that she grabs from their burning house. Like she goes
her
back
wedding.
into the
Yeah.
burning house and
Yeah.
grabs it. Yeah.
And basically says, listen, Homer, I've thought that, I always would look past your shortcomings. And turns out the only thing that kept us together was me looking past your shortcomings. So we I guess we got to take the kids. We got to save Springfield, which I think is really funny because she's taking her children into a very dangerous situation. But it's The Simpsons, and the rules don't apply to things like that. So.
Yeah, it's. I mean, Springfield is basically every zombie movie that you've ever seen,
Yes.
but it's just the humans that are alive,
Right.
and like it's every man for himself.
Yes.
So yeah, she takes him back into that. On the way in the train, the NSA, who's listening to every conversation, they're listening to this very podcast
he
right
goes,
now.
Mom, we shouldn't talk. Bart goes, Mom, you shouldn't say your plans, what we're going to do, how we're going to save Springfield. She goes, oh, it's not like they're listening on every one of our conversations. And they go to some random dark, huge
It's like a DEFCON 5 type
headquarters
of
area where there's 1,000 people listening in to every conversation. And there's just random conversations here and there, and then all of a sudden you hear that exactly what Bart just said. I found something. We're looking for them. The U.S. government
finally found someone we were looking for.
someone we're looking for. Anyway,
So good. That is the epitome of Simpsons comedy,
Yeah.
by the way.
And they rip on most
It's very
people.
satirical. It's very
Yeah.
sarcastic.
yeah, and generally speaking, they have always ripped on everybody. I mean, there are some.
There's nobody safe.
No, I think it's pretty well. It's you got it. So
I think a lot of like I grew up Christian. We've kind of been, you and I both have kind of been around that Christian scene. I think a lot of people would say like, oh, well, they rip on Christians. Like they rip on everybody. Like it's not. Yeah, Flanders is a total joke in the show, and he's it's like quote unquote a Christian. I don't know if they ever call him a Christian, but he goes to church every Sunday.
yeah, I
and
mean, he
reads
goes
the Bible.
yeah, he goes to church. I mean, he does.
It's never mentioned if it's Catholic or Pentecostal. It doesn't matter really, but he. Everyone's no one's safe. So I like that they rip on the government. I love that we live in a country that the government can be ripped on.
Their
shows.
church, by the way, we were talking about this. Their church, actually in Springfield, that Reverend Lovejoy is the reverend of.
Oh, yeah.
It has a lot of elements of a lot of different churches. Like
Okay,
it has this
okay, I didn't
weird
know that.
Southern Baptist thing that sometimes it has like a Lutheran Catholic kind of thing a
Okay.
little bit.
All right.
It's just a weird, like it's got its own thing going on. Like
It's in the same way that Springfield is every city.
It's kind of a lot of
in the
different
United
religions
States.
in there, like a lot of different sects, SECT,
Yeah.
S's.
Thank you for spelling it.
Sorry, of the Christian religion. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, there you go.
Then
And Homer.
It goes
That's my best Reverend Lovejoy impression.
it goes back to Homer in Alaska, and he's obviously, kind of come to grips with like, okay, this is where I'm at. And so I don't even remember how he finds this woman. He finds this Inuit woman.
He's like, no, Marge, blah, blah, blah. He goes out in the snow looking for them, stands on this ledge. It breaks off and gets in water, and then it floats off.
Oh, that's right.
It's in the shape of a heart. The scene goes black.
Yeah.
The heart breaks in half, and he's
yeah.
on one half, and he's like asleep. And he wakes up in a snowdrift, or maybe a polar bear's trying to get him. There's some polar bear.
Oh,
at
he's
some point.
saved, doesn't he?
And the Inuit lady finds him in the snow, wakes him up, and he wakes up in her tent or whatever. So
That's right. It's like a teepee type
Teepee.
of yeah.
Yeah.
And she helps him have an epiphany through throat singing. Very interesting scene.
So weird.
She like blows into his mouth and like blows his head up like a balloon, and then like he has this epiphany. Anyways, and at first he thinks like she's like, tell me, utter what you feel from within. What is your epiphany? What are you feeling? And he goes, Americans will never embrace soccer. And then
He's having this weird freak out thing, and so he's like having like these visions, and the trees have hands, and they're slapping him in the face when he does this. And then what's he say? I'm not as important as
right.
people are more important than one person, or there are people that are more important than me, or it's not just about me, basically.
Yeah.
And so the trees clap for him, and then he wakes back up, and he's like, "Oh, I've got to go save my family," which is really funny.
Yeah, he says, in order to save myself, I have to save Springfield. Like, okay.
Okay. So anyway, what's his plan? His plan, he shows up.
So one thing that happens
first things
in
first,
between,
yeah.
his
Tell us about the family.
His family actually gets arrested. So they're like being transported in like this prison truck, like they're all in chains and stuff like that in the back of this truck. And he has to stop that truck.
He's trying to intersect the convoy of the prison truck, and he actually has it planned out.
Like more than you would ever think Homer would plan out anything.
But then he ends up the wrecking ball thing. He gets to do it.
Before that, he puts a whole bunch of signs in there, and they're like SOP.
Like
What's a SOP?
Because he doesn't know how to spell stop, which is hilarious.
SOP. And at one point, like they're going towards another sign, and the guy that's in the passenger seat says to the driver, he says, "Look, we can't stop at every SOP, yelled, and one V sign."
I like that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Homer.
There were several moments where I literally could not stop laughing. Like I was
it's
just
funny.
laughing out loud.
It's a funny movie.
I will say this though. I think most of the humor got kind of a giggle or oh, that's really clever. There wasn't a whole lot of like laugh out loud moments for me in this movie. Whereas other movies, like if I go back and watch Dumb and Dumber or like Billy Madison, is like that. There are scenes I just can't stop laughing.
We've seen this Simpsons a lot. Like we've seen this, and not only that, The Simpsons is best served in 22-minute portions.
Right.
It's 22 minutes. There's a bunch of
This
commercials
is like,
the rest of the time.
like almost 4 times that.
Yeah. So like you've seen it, like it's a large amount of it, and so yeah, it doesn't all hit.
Yeah, and
it's hard.
I think that's okay. Like,
And The Simpsons is pretty subtle. Like
yes,
The Simpsons, the show, has been really subtle, like in its humor. So
yeah, if you're not paying attention, this is not a show
well,
where
you have to.
like if you're doing the dishes while you watch this, you're probably going to miss half the jokes.
And you know what's really funny? Like I've talked about my parents, like the idea of animated things having adult. And I'm not even saying adult like gross, like adult themes. Sure. I'm saying intelligent talk, like intelligent dialogue, intelligent. I think there's a lot of folks of a certain age that like, Simpsons. Like, why would I watch that? It's just a kid's cartoon, or it's gross, or it's Beavis and Butthead, or it's South Park, and The Simpsons has always been not highbrow, but like it's more well thought out. It's much more well thought out than a lot of shows.
It's satire. Some of it's political. Some of it's religious.
Yes.
It's satirical in ways that kids aren't going to understand
right.
a whole lot of,
right.
Because they just haven't had that education yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So at one point, so like the bad guys which is the American government, the EPA, are like on this huge television screen on like the side of the dome, and that's how they get their information to the people of Springfield. At one point, he says, "We're commencing with he says, we got good news for everyone." Or no, he says, "We got news for everyone. We're gonna move on from the dome portion of our expedition or this campaign. We're commencing with Operation Soaring Eagle," and everyone goes, "Yay!" He says, "Which involves killing you all." Aww.
Why is it called Soaring Eagle?
So good. Homer super glues his hands, literally puts super glue on his hands, and he climbs the entire dome all the way up to the very top of it. Falls to the ground.
Well, he goes in
inside.
the EPA's truck or wherever it is, or wherever he
yeah.
goes, and there's actually a jetpack there. And he chooses super glue over the jetpack.
Oh, that's right. Very, very Homer. I'm skipping through a lot of things, just kind of racing through this. There's a lot of action, like in the last 15 minutes of the movie, and a lot of it is not real comedic, but
we
really
didn't talk about this.
line-heavy,
His family had been put back into the dome, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Like they were put back in.
they're inside.
They're sent back into the dome, which is really poetic and ironic and real that they'd just be imprisoned back in the dome. So.
Yeah. There's a bomb, and basically that's how they're going to blow up everybody is detonate this bomb from within the dome inside of it. It's dropped down on this rope. Homer at one point takes the bomb and a motorcycle.
First things first, though, Homer foils everyone else's escape because they decide we're going to.
Oh, that's right.
We're going to distract the Russ Cargill.
Yeah.
While we climb out on the rope.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are climbing up the rope, and they're getting out because there's the dumb hillbilly guy in town's like, "Hey, everybody!" And he's like, "What?" Oh, and he's paying attention to him while they're climbing out. Homer then climbs the dome, gets to the top. "I'll save you," and then slides down and
bumps them all down.
All of them off as it goes down. And so now they're all mad at him. He's ruined the town. He's now he's kept them from escaping. And now now you tell us about Homer and his motorcycle.
Yeah, so earlier while we mentioned the motorcycle inside the kind of little small sphere type of thing is now he's going to do this with like an actual dome, like a huge dome. And so he grabs the bomb. There's I think you briefly see Colin for another second before he's completely off the screen again. But yeah, Homer gets Bart kind of back into his good graces because he's now the hero, and Bart says, "Oh, I'm with you, Dad." He leaves Flanders behind, jumps on the motorcycle with Homer, and they take the bomb. They ride along the side of the dome to ascend up to the top. And Bart is the one to take the bomb off the back of the motorcycle, throws it through the top, but then it lands on top of the dome. I thought it was going to actually fall right back in. Lands on top of the dome. It
goes around the whole, like a golf ball, like around the whole, and then it lands outside.
When it explodes, it's on top of the dome. So in the event of the explosion, basically causes the entire dome to shatter. Glass falls everywhere. And I was like, okay, this is going to kill everybody in town. And the big joke is like, I think, is there a doctor character?
It incinerates all the rest of it, all the rest of the pieces of glass, and it's like just falling like snow or like sand almost.
We're alive.
Oh, we're alive. It's so great. And then all of a sudden, Dr. Nick, who is this TV doctor.
Okay.
It's like, "Hey, everybody." Like, that's his character.
He's the one character that I didn't recognize at all.
Yeah, he's a really funny character because he's like a TV doctor. And then he helps with any lawsuit. He's a TV guy. Dr. Nick, blah, blah, blah. "Hey, everybody." That's his whole thing. And then he gets completely gored by this huge, gigantic shard of the dome that
it's like a 15-foot long shard.
And he goes, "Bye, everybody."
So that was a joke I did not. I didn't laugh at all because I didn't get the
Dr.
reference.
Nick is funny because every time you see him on there, it's literally just to do that.
Hi,
"Hi, everybody," and he's got like some some remedy or some crud. It's dumb.
Okay, that is really funny now. I didn't get that at the time.
It is Dr. Nick. He's got a last name too, but I forget his last name.
Maggie throws a rock at Russ Cargill's head, I think, and knocks him out.
Well, Russ Cargill at the end has
on top of his head.
Has Homer and Bart cornered at the top of some ridge, and he's like, "You two, you've done it." And he's like, "And I I have waited so long for this, and now I'm going to be able to use the things that Harvard prepared me for: shooting a gun and killing someone. What? And then Maggie drops a rock on his head,
And he's dead, apparently. Knocked out.
I don't know. Cartoons are never really dead. So
Lisa goes on a date with Colin. Again, weird payoff. He's barely even in the movie. Homer's the town hero. He kisses Marge. They're all good together again now. During the ending credits, Maggie utters her first word. And this was actually something I had heard of before watching the movie.
What was it?
Maggie, I guess she'd never spoken ever until 2007 when this movie came out. I mean, she may have made some goo-goo noise or something that sounded like a word, but I mean, Marge makes a big deal about it. She's like, "Oh, Maggie, do you have something to say? Oh, it's going to be Maggie's first word." And she goes, "Sequel?" So there's not been a sequel. We're recording this 13 years after the movie.
I can't believe that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Still not a sequel 13 years later. I think they probably legitimately did want to make a sequel. Why they didn't after they made literally over $400 million in profit on the first movie is beyond me. Maybe they just couldn't come up with a story that they really liked or something. I mean,
I think in 1989, if you'd said, "Listen, Simpsons is going to have a movie," what? It's going to be a July release movie. What? Its box office is going to be $500 million. What?
No.
Like, insane.
No one would have believed you.
You said, Simpsons is going to have an album. It's going to sell 3 million copies.
Yeah.
At $15 a copy.
In 1989, I don't know that people would have even thought that the Simpsons would be in their 18th season by then.
Well, I mean, even when it was just a skit in like 1987 on the Tracy Ullman show, it's like, It's weird. So weird.
I kind of looked up the sequel news. According to Wikipedia, which references actual articles like interviews and stuff. I think they're still thinking about it. Like,
we'll see.
Honestly, like if anyone's going to do it, it's probably going to be Disney. If they like you said earlier, if they can think of a way to make money, they'll do it.
What Disney does well is make money.
Yeah, they'll get some awesome writers. They'll get Matt. Groening.
Groening?
I don't know.
Groening.
They'll get those guys on it.
Matt, we'll get your name right if you write in. Otherwise, we're going to keep calling you whatever.
The thing
or Groening.
The thing is it's been 13 years since this movie came out, but the Simpsons is still airing new episodes every week. So, I mean, this show, okay, 3 million is a far cry from 27 million. Who knows how many people are watching it on Hulu?
Nothing can get 27 million views now.
YouTube TV, there's a lot of different ways to watch. So maybe there's 10 million people that are still watching the show. It's not as high as it used to be, but there's still, I mean, that's still 10 million people that are watching every single episode that comes out.
Yes.
I think it's still very much in the same kind of zeitgeist as the original movie to make a movie in 2020 or 2021. If they started making it now, it'd probably come out next year. I think it would do just fine. I really think people would enjoy it. Let me ask you this. This is not a politics show, but politics is very much a part of Simpsons. If they make a Simpsons sequel, I guess it would have to come out later this year unless he gets reelected. But will Trump be in it?
Oh yeah,
like
they'll have something.
They'll satirize President Trump in some way.
They love it, don't they? Have well, I mean they've satirized him on the show before. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Before he was president.
Oh yeah,
and probably I'm sure they have a lot since he's been president.
Let's find out what predictions the Simpsons got right. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they've gotten a lot right. Schwarzenegger has not become president yet. They got that wrong. But here's what I'll say about the Simpsons humor. I think there are a lot of people that just do not think that The Simpsons is funny at all. And
I understand that. But there are also, 4% of the planet that doesn't, the sound of music, not the movie, but just the sound of music makes them insane. So.
Yeah. There's also
not for everybody.
There's also the flat Earth thing that's going around these days. So not everyone understands.
Just saying
everything. I mean, I certainly don't think you need to be smart at all to enjoy the show. I think there's a lot of funny things that happen, and I think kids can actually enjoy a lot of the especially the visual comedy that happens. Anytime Homer starts to strangle Bart, I think that's really funny to watch. So you don't have to necessarily understand all the satire. For me, I thought it was very funny. I again didn't think it was as funny as other movies that I've seen in the last year. However, I laughed out loud a lot, and I really appreciate the satirical, sarcastic nature of their humor. I think it's very smart. It's very aware of like what are popular topics, like especially the United States, if not the world, and they're not afraid. Like they have this kind of fearless storytelling and joke making that I really appreciate. Like I think some of it is going to be offensive to some people, and that's just how it is. But it is such where I think if you're open-minded enough, and I'm not trying to insult anybody that's listening to this podcast, but if you're open-minded enough, I think there is something to laugh at even when you see yourself in a character. I think there are moments. It's very, very. I would encourage anyone to like, if you see yourself in a character and then they make fun of that character, to maybe laugh at yourself a little bit. And I think that's where The Simpsons really shines, and how they have their fans that come after their show year after year after year is because of their ability to address things without being overly offensive. Like they're just like, hey, let's just all laugh about this for 22 minutes and then move on with our lives. So I think it's a show I definitely need to get into, because I just know that I would really, really appreciate it. But the movie I was surprised how much I understood watching this movie, having not seen that many episodes of The Simpsons. And that tells you everything you need to know about how they crafted this movie, because you don't make $500 million at the box office without appealing to people that don't know the show.
I would say this, that The Simpsons is best when they don't take themselves very seriously, and they don't normally. Mm-hmm. Like you said, they're able to not attack, but satirize a large group of people, make fun of themselves, and the point that they take themselves too seriously is that's when it will end completely.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
MASH was a show that was on for years, and MASH started out as a sitcom about a hospital unit, or a medical unit, a med unit in the Vietnam War. But they made light of their day-to-day stuff. It wasn't hardcore serious. It was a comedy. Mm-hmm. And then by the end, it was like, we're making, political statements about the war. Which, okay, I understand that. I agree that war is very polarizing, but it got too serious. It was like, we're too serious.
Yeah.
You started out as one thing, you know what I'm saying? We don't want, people, when people do things like this is a bad example maybe, but the minute that McDonald's started to fail, you know when that was, Phil? When they introduced a salad on their menu. You know why? McDonald's is a burger chain. Burgers and fries. We don't care about... Who cares about health? Because they're a burger and fry place. But the second...
Stay in your lane, McDonald's.
But you know what I'm saying? So the second the Simpsons go, you know what? That is a topic. Too far.
Yeah.
We must take a stand. Blah, blah, blah. And there are things you can look back and see the things that they've kind of done, that they've taken themselves seriously at times, but it's not enough to where you're like, it's like, that's one thing about like South Park, maybe a bad example, but Matt Stone and
Trey Parker.
Those guys take nothing seriously.
Yeah.
And that's what's made them.
Right. Right.
They have a play called The Book of Mormon.
Right.
And it's just like, they just don't care. Like, they're just like, whatever. Mel Brooks, Mel Brooks was awesome.
Sure,
because Mel Brooks would just be like, yeah, we're just going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm a Jew. I'm a Jewish guy and from New York, and I'm just going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to make this, and as long as I can find some backing, then, whatever.
I agree.
The Simpsons just don't need to take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
And don't introduce the salad on the menu, folks. Freddy's does not have a salad on the menu. I noticed that the other day. I've been trying to eat a little bit better.
Yeah.
And so we went to Freddy's, which is a burger place. It's kind of a Midwestern burger place. And I'm like, maybe they have a salad. Maybe they don't need to eat a burger. And they didn't have a salad. And then, and then I was kind of like, good job, Freddy's.
Yeah.
You're a burger place.
Yeah.
You don't need a salad.
You do you, Freddy's.
Yeah, pal. It's the minute they fail. That's the minute McDonald's stopped being McDonald's.
Yeah.
There you go. Off soapbox.
I'm glad you suggested this movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Fun.
I was surprised it took me this long to watch it. 13 years later, I finally got to see it. And I like that it's a part of Disney Plus. It is very anti-Disney, sometimes literally in a couple scenes. But good on Disney to still have that movie on their service, and it can completely contradict a lot of the other things that you would see on Disney Plus. But it's so great that it's there.
One side note, one thing that I'm looking at predictions that The Simpsons got right. Disney buys 20th Century Fox. This is season 10, episode 5. This is in 1998.
Oh, wow.
There's the front sign in front of the studio. Ron Howard and Brian Grazer produce a script for Homer, for Homer, that Homer pitches as a movie, and he pitches it at 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company.
That's amazing.
It's pretty funny. So
season
that was
10,
1998.
Wow.
Basically 20 years before that happened. But it's kind of funny to think about, and
Yeah.
they've
Those
said
guys
that
are
for a
so
long
smart.
time. There have been a lot of things. So anyway, good times.
So smart.
So smart.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps us up on the Simpsons talk. What else have you been watching on Disney Plus?
We watched Toy Story 4 this morning.
Oh, that's right. It is now on Disney Plus. I
it's
just
great.
saw that. Yeah.
We watched it
It's so
in
funny
all
'cause
its
I was-
Forky greatness. I know your daughter is a huge Forky fan.
Yeah, we've not watched Toy Story 4 yet on the service. We watched it on Blu-ray. It's funny because last week I was just talking about Lamp Story, or Lamp Life is what it's called. And I was talking about how, watch Lamp Life until Toy Story 4 actually comes out, and then it came out a few days later.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's up there now.
So we watched that this morning, actually, Miller and I.
Was this your second viewing?
Yeah, I watched it in theater and then watched it there. It's good.
Still just as great as the first
yeah.
time. Yeah.
I'm amazed at that thing that they can recreate it because Forky breathes new life into it. I thought about this too. Like, it's kind of a gamble to make Forky.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a guarantee
Huge.
that thing was going to be any as funny as it was.
I'll be honest, Jack. I saw the trailers for that movie, and I wasn't sold on Forky.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh man, I hope they don't botch this.
Yeah. Well, it worked
So
out.
it was a big risk, but it paid off.
Will they make a 5?
Boy, again, Disney likes money, so that clouds the whole question. I think if you take Disney just making money hand over fist completely out of the equation, I would say no. Just because how that movie ended, and it just...
And there's several of them in separate directions, right? So
Yeah.
or at least Woody's in a separate direction, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, they're separated. I don't want to get too much into spoilers just because someone's just now having the chance to watch it, because it's on Disney Plus. We'll review it at some point, but probably not anytime soon. But give people a chance to watch it. But yeah, because of the way the movie ends, and let's just say the characters are separated from one another, I think they could do a Toy Story 5. I think it would be a very different cast list that I don't think would be an easy sell for audiences. And I think this might not be a popular opinion, but I think the Bonnie saga part of Toy Story, which is only a single movie, just Toy Story 4, whereas Bonnie is the owner of these toys, is kind of, for me, is best served as just a single shot movie. I thought, to me, Toy Story is Andy and his toys. And although I love Toy Story 4, it's actually maybe my favorite in the series. Definitely at least second favorite out of all four of them. I don't think that, I guess the human really doesn't matter very much at all in any of the plots, but I don't think that people are going to think of Toy Story as Bonnie. And maybe if they do 2 more movies with Bonnie, they will. But I think the way that they wrapped that movie was just perfectly, wrapped a bow on it. But people said that about Toy Story 3, the way that movie ended. They said that was a perfect ending to a trilogy of films. Cool. And then they made a 4th one. So who knows?
There it is.
This week we're always Jordan's always watching TV shows, but as a family, the only thing that we watched on Disney Plus this week was a Goofy movie. So I had seen this movie. It came out in 1995. Talking about old movies, I had seen it when it came out in theaters, and I remember liking it at the time. I had no memory of anything in that movie. No jokes, no plot device. I kind of remembered a little bit about the characters, but that was about it. I was surprised how much I liked that movie. It is dated. There's some scenes where they're fighting over the radio and things that people don't do as much anymore. There's a little bit of 90s, rebel against the parents, the olds or whatever.
Yeah.
That is, I'm sure,
Rebel against the parents, dude. I know what you're saying.
Listen, teenagers will always rebel against their parents.
But I remember
in
that.
any generation.
Yeah.
But the way that it happens and the way that it's spoken of in this movie is very 90s.
Yeah.
And so there's certain things I don't think have held up very well over the last 25 years. 25 years ago, by the way. Jackson.
Oh yeah, I
when
saw
this movie came out.
a meme or something online that says that 1990 is farther away than 2050 is
Yeah.
at current times.
Yeah.
Is that right?
From when we were kids.
From right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't that 20? Yeah.
Yeah, like for
30
her,
years ago, but not. We're going that direction.
Yeah, like
So
for,
2050 is actually closer to us than going back to 1990.
yeah, like when we were kids, when we watched Sleeping Beauty,
Oh my God.
that's like what Jordan is watching a Goofy movie. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure. I think Sleeping Beauty came out in the 50s, right?
That makes me sick.
Let me look it up.
That makes me sick.
Yeah, 1959. So yeah, honestly, even
Well,
even
hold on.
fewer
That'd be
years.
20. Well,
25 years from that would have been 1994. So
1984.
1984, you're right. So when
Goonies.
that's a perfect representation because in 1984 I was 5 years old. Jordan's 3, so just
Oh, I
a couple
forget
years
that.
difference.
Yeah, that's true.
She's 3. So like in the same way that when I was 5, I watched Sleeping Beauty. She's a 3-year-old watching a Goofy movie. That's a perfect representation.
Jesus.
Yeah, crazy. So anyway,
Sickening.
so she actually, I did not expect her to like it. 20 minutes into the movie, and I think 35 minutes into the movie, more than once, we looked at Jordan. We said, "Are you enjoying this? Like, do you like this movie?" And she said, "Yes, I like it." We're like, "Okay, we'll keep watching it then," because her reactions were not strong, and she was not laughing at a lot. And I thought,
And maybe
like,
it's how they do a movie then.
I guess
Movies were pushed out a little
she
differently.
loved it. Like I don't know why she loved it, but she really liked it. I don't think it's one that she'll go back to. Last night she watched Tangled for like the 13th time in the last month.
Woo.
So maybe 10th. It's definitely more than 8 or 9 times.
I don't
in the
miss
last
that
month.
age. I don't miss
Dude,
that
she
age.
watches the same thing.
I hate. I got to where I just was like, no, we're gonna watch something new.
Enough. Yeah.
Pick something new.
Yeah.
Because
We do that.
I cannot.
sometimes, too.
I cannot watch. I don't know. Pick one. I'm trying to think of.
What
the movies.
was Miller's? So Miller's
No.
10, right?
He's 9.
9.
But when he was 3, we would watch stuff like. What was the movie he watched all over and over again? I'm gonna get it wrong. I can't remember. Anyway,
Big Hero 6.
Huh?
Big Hero 6.
Oh, we watched Big Hero 6 like 10 times, and I was just like tired of Big. I don't even want to watch it now. Like I
Yeah.
don't even care to watch it now.
Yeah.
And it's fun.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. Like, but I don't.
You just not that many times in a row.
Yeah, I don't really hear Baymax talk about best traits.
I remember him talking a lot about Big Hero 6. It's all. I mean, we have a girl, so it's all princess movies. But she watches Tangled and Frozen over and over
I
and
couldn't
over
do it.
again. Yeah,
I couldn't do
so
it.
when she put it on last night, I watched like maybe 20 minutes of it. I checked out for the rest of it because I literally can.
Yeah.
At this point, Jordan, who's 3.5, can already quote that movie. Like there are moments where she was saying the lines right before the character said them.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, you've seen this movie too much, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Goofy movie was a good reprieve from
That's
the
good.
usual stuff, so
That's
we
good.
enjoyed that. So that wraps it up for this episode. Let us know what you want to hear about on this podcast. Send us your own reviews. Send us audio or an email, something that you've watched on Disney Plus or something you'd like to hear us talk about. We've got one more week before Clone Wars Season 7 comes up. I guess I should do a Clone Wars update. I'm still in Season 3. So
Exciting.
I'm probably not going to make it by the 17th of,
okay. It's
of
gonna be
February.
fine. It's
I
gonna be
think
all right.
here's what I think, Jack. I think I can get through
Tell me what you think.
at least the end of season 4. So 4 seasons before the 7th season comes out.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to get to season 5 and 6. The way my life has been over the last couple weeks, like I just haven't had a lot of time. I think I literally had 2 nights that I could actually watch the Clone Wars this week. So I definitely have gone slower than I was hoping. At this point, I'd have to watch like 7 episodes a night, every night or something like that to catch up. That's not going to happen. I think my goal now is at least to get through season 4. I'm already halfway through season 3, so I'm doing pretty good. But I'm going to try to get through at least season 4 before watching season 7 with everybody. But that is in 2 weeks. As we record this episode, we're recording this on Saturday, February 8th. So next week is the 15th. That's 2 days before the first episode of Clone Wars Season 7 comes out. And so next week is our last kind of filler episode in between Star Wars stuff, which, I mean,
I'm pumped about
we're just excited
doing
about
Clone
Star
Wars
Wars.
because I love Star Wars, and I like new Star Wars being presented because
Yeah.
we went decades with nothing in that universe new,
Right.
and you kind of just had to fill in the gaps. Or I read 3 or 4 of those like Star Wars novels.
I didn't know that.
That was the expanded universe. I like it. I
Okay.
love Star Wars a lot.
Okay.
So
I think I feel
there's
like
several of them are really good, and I was actually miffed whenever they took that and didn't make it canon anymore.
Right.
But
It's
from
all
a movie standpoint, they
legends now.
kind of needed to do that. But they've kind of retconned even a little bit of that now and added. They've taken from some of those stories.
components
so.
of it, yeah.
So
That's what I've heard.
Anyway.
I feel like almost everyone I work with or am friends with has read at least one of those books. I've never read a single one, and I feel like I need to read some of them. But now that they're not canon, I have even less reason to read them. So next week, what we talked about doing, and I don't know if you still want to do this, but we talked about Mulan for next week. Let's
do it.
Okay. So the Mulan remake is coming out. The live action remake
Not
is coming to
Moulin
theaters.
Rouge,
No.
but Mulan.
Yeah.
was a joke.
Spelled differently.
That was a joke.
Mulan is coming out in March.
Mulan.
Yeah.
That's Mulan.
Okay.
Mulan.
We saw a trailer for it, a little brief commercial for it during the Super Bowl.
Didn't it look great?
It looked legit. At first, I was like, is this going to be an actually like good Assassin's Creed movie?
This has been and this has been the one of those live actions where I go, and I think there's audio of me saying this somewhere.
Yeah.
Whether it's Horrible Movie Podcast or something, when we start talking about live action things, where I said Mulan is probably the one that you could make it really cool.
Yeah.
Because action wise, there's going to be actual action. It's not going to be a Disney princess fest.
Right.
But this is the one that you could do some really cool action stuff with.
I feel like I can't remember. I think it was 1994. I can't remember when the original movie came out, but very ahead of its time. It basically is about kind of girl power. Like she's not allowed. Mulan is not allowed in the army because she's a woman.
Yeah, so she has to
basically
herself,
like fake her way in to fight for the army and kind of save the day. And
it's a Captain America ripped this off for that movie.
Yeah.
It's I'm shook.
It did Captain Marvel before, a couple decades before Captain Marvel. So, anyways, I've not watched it at all since the original movie came out. So what we talked about is going
I've
back
only
and
seen
watching
that one once, so I don't.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And it was probably in theaters, so it's been that long since I've seen it. But so Jack and I talked about going back to the original movie before the remake comes out here in about 6 weeks or so. I think it's probably mid-March is when it's coming out. It's on Disney Plus. We're going to go back and watch the original Mulan and kind of remind ourselves of it. 1998 is when that came out. So about 22 years later, they're making a remake of it. So, all right, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week for some Mulan talk, and then we'll get into some Star Wars after that.
See you guys.
See you then.
Bye.